to be 100% honest with you, I'm not paying myself properly. So, and as soon as I pay myself properly, then the business will go bankrupt pretty quick.
Costs and pricing are important at any level of hospitality, certainly often spoken about in fine dining, talked about in cafes, but I think those independent restaurants that are the lifeblood of our cities and towns are always grappling with the question of how much to charge their customers, how to cope with those bills that keep rising. Today we are chatting to Michael Samsir. He owns a noodle shop in Melbourne's Clayton in the southeast that I absolutely love. Handmade noodles and dumplings, really fantastic coffee offering. Michael, welcome to Dirty Linen.
Thanks, Dani. Pleasure to be invited to have a chat with you today.
So, Michael, for people who don't know about PBK Noodles and what you're up to there, tell us a bit about the restaurant.
So basically, we started in early 2014. We started with the name Pondok Bamboo Kuning, and we do our own noodles. So we imported the machine back from Indonesia. So we started doing the noodles and some of the fried dumplings, fried wonton. Up until when close to when the COVID hit, we started to offer some fresh noodles to some restaurants and also to the grocery shops, just to be able to survive pretty much. And we also starting to offer some coffees. We imported coffees from Sumatra, Indonesia. And yeah, the coffee is great.
I can vouch for the coffee. It is great. So I suppose, what I want people to understand is that it's a really heartfelt business. Like, you make noodles by hand every day. You make your own dumplings, make the wonton skins. You roast your coffee. So import it, roast it there, and then grind it and make, really special, interesting coffees for people who come by, as well as supplying, as you say, fresh noodles to other businesses. What are you finding in terms of being able to price your food where you need it to be?
It's a tricky situation, I guess. At one hand, we need to be able to actually survive with what we price our food on, but on the other hand, we also need to look at the surroundings. Because the tricky bit with us is that we sell noodles. And when we say noodles to our customers, they think like it's the cheap stuff, like Chinese noodles or, that sort of kind of thing. So we had to be careful when we were doing the pricing. At the beginning, when we just started, where I didn't have a lot of experience, so I thought volumes can actually cover for everything, but then it turns out not quite. So so that's when we started to pivot, that we focusing our pricing to actually cover our costs while looking around our competitors, and then start to position ourselves away from the image of cheap and affordable.
It's so interesting. And, you've really plunged straight into something that I wanted to talk about, which is, this perception that certain types of food should be cheap. And it's something we've talked about on this podcast before. It's like, why are Asian noodles cheap when perhaps pasta, for example, you can charge more for? Why is a dumpling supposed to be cheap when tortellini can be quite expensive? Just to, pick on Italian food. I mean, Clayton is a really diverse food strip. Like, I love the road where you are. There is so much there's so many different cuisines there, and a lot of the different Asian restaurants. I mean, how do you start to differentiate yourself? And is that tricky as well? Like, is that a sort of, I don't know, is that a hard thing to do philosophically as well as economically?
Well, it's very hard to change people's perception. That's the first thing. And I think that's the whole reason why we changed our name. So before the name is Pondok Bamboo Kuning, so it's very Indonesianish. And even in the tagline, we say Indonesian noodles or whatever. But now we changed the branding into we shortened the name. We still kept the abbreviation of the old name. So that's where the PBK starts to come. So the PBK there, and then in terms of the shifting, we avoid to use any association to any country. So hence why I changed it to an artisan made noodle instead of so a more generic positioning instead of a more specific country specific. So I avoided that.
That's so interesting. And, how has that been for you? How has it been communicating that change, altering the perception of people who walk through the door or think about walking through the door? What's it been like?
It's still work in progress. So the beginning that we do was that change the branding and the tagline positioning. But then the second step that we did was that we tried to modify the menu. In the past, when we're still using our old names, including the old taglines, people came here and asked us whether we have gado-gado or whether we have beef rendang or things like that. But now, ever since we changed the tagline, changed the name, no one ever asked that question anymore. So whenever they step into the door, they expect noodles.
Yeah, that's so interesting. And I mean, have you been able to raise your prices?
The prices, we actually raise our prices. Of course, the price is not like comparable to where Italian pasta or Japanese ramen, but I think we are pretty close to pricing it closer to Japanese ramen, but certainly not to the level of Italian pasta yet. I don't think people is ready for that.
I mean, what is it? I mean, is it just simple racism? Like, what is it that makes it so hard to have these, dishes that have similar ingredients and perhaps has similar energy and time needs to be put into them to make? Why can't they be priced the same?
Well, I'm trying to avoid the word racism, but certainly I think there is some preconception or maybe misconception that Western food is more pricey than Asian food, even though they're the same, like in terms of ingredients. But I don't know why the people's perception, especially the Asian customers, they have the perception that Western food is more prominent, hence more pricey.
I mean, the audience in Clayton, there's a lot of Asian customers, people that live there, students that live there for a period of time. I mean, is it a particularly hard sell to those people that perhaps if your noodles cost a couple of dollars more than, let's say, the Chinese or Vietnamese restaurant down the street, is that a particularly hard sell?
Well, it was at the beginning, but then I tried to play around with the portion as well. So yes, the price is a little bit more expensive, but then I tried to compensate it with giving them more. So whenever they eat, they feel that they're full. They walk out the door. They don't need to go to McDonald's or whatever. So yeah. So that has been good.
And what about coffee? I mean, we know that coffee prices are something that cafe owners really agonise over. How have you found pricing your coffee? It's a specialty coffee that you're doing there. I've had coffees with you that I haven't enjoyed anywhere else. So, tell us about that side of it.
In terms of coffee, we on one hand, for the regular coffee, we use market lane coffee, and yes, the price has increased quite a bit. So hence why we also increase our price. So, but I don't see the customers complaining because even in my surroundings, I can see cafes in my surrounding actually increases their price of coffee as well. So we are lucky in that regard. So there's no row businesses that's holding on the old price. So yeah, at least in that way we are safe. And in terms of our specialty coffee, the coffee that we imported, I think it's because of the quality that we offered. I haven't seen any single customers that complain about our pricing.
And I mean, do you think you're charging enough? Like, should you test the market and charge a bit more?
At the moment, we are actually undercharging for that coffee of us. But then I think the customer still needs to learn more. I think I need to get more customer base for this until it's we've got enough traction. Then I can start increasing a little bit, bit by bit. But even the coffee bag, like the 250 gram coffee, is still too cheap for that quality of coffee. But then we still make money at the moment. But we could have charged more.
This episode is proudly supported by Montague, handpicked for you.
So the eating experience of our plums is sweet. That's a primary driver. It's got to be sweet, but it's also got to have enough acid, because the mix of acid and sugar is what gives fruit its flavour. And in a plum, it tends to be slightly higher acidity. And then a really nice, full, not dry, but juicy explosion of juice into your mouth as you bite into it. That's nirvana for us in terms of plum.
For more information, go to montague.com.au. One of the issues in hospitality in owner-operated businesses, and it's absolutely rife, is that owners don't pay themselves properly. Now, I know that you're in your business all the time. I mean, what do you think that you're paying yourself properly?
To be 100% honest with you, I'm not paying myself properly. So and as soon as I pay myself properly, then the business will go bankrupt pretty quick.
Yeah, it's so hard.
Yeah, and unfortunately, that is the real facts that we are facing. And I keep hammering my customers with the cost structures that we have in hospitality. They keep thinking that we're making a lot of money. We don't.
I know, but I just think, how is it sustainable? I mean, what is it that you get from your business that's not money that keeps you doing it, Michael?
Well, at the moment, it's the passion about it. So I'm passionate about cooking. Like one of the kudos that I've applied to when doing this business is that I'm not gonna serve my customers the stuff that I will not let my family eat or even myself eat. So and then I'm passionate about the food, about things that I produce, like coffees and all that. So I guess it's more about the non-financial thing at the moment, but of course you can't live with that. And hence why I started to change my approach, and hopefully we can get a little bit more traction.
I mean, do you feel like you're in a bit of a scramble at the moment, because you've got this plan, you can sort of see the horizon where you can slowly raise prices, but at the same time, coming up behind you is these ever-increasing costs? I mean, does it just seem really tricky at times?
Well, it definitely is, and hence why if you come here, you will see me here every day. That is an effort to for me to reduce the cost to the business. And to be honest with you, with the labor shortage, and even if there is no labor shortage, the labor cost is actually the big chunk of the big chunk of cost that's actually eaten the revenue. Not only in the high end establishment, even in establishment like this, it's actually the same.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I just feel, what do I feel? I feel really emotional because I just absolutely love businesses like yours. And, you know, we know that every hospitality business, the great ones, they're driven by passion. You need money to live, but it's passion that keeps people there. There's other ways to make money. But at the same time, you know, I listen to you and other operators where it's so hard. You're not paying yourself properly. It just makes me so concerned about how sustainable businesses like yours are. You know, we need the passion, we need the unique offering that people like yourself bring to a city. But if it doesn't stack up on a balance sheet in the end, how long can it go on?
Yeah, I guess at the end of the day, it needs to come back to the customer perception about values that we restaurants are offering. The more the thing is that is the degree of education about that topic is actually very low, and I kept saying to my customers that I even explained to them about the cost structure where you got 100% of revenue, you got 10% GST, so you're left with 90%. And with your labor cost, it'll be between 30-40%. Then that will leave you about 40-50% of remaining of your revenue. And then after that, you've got your rental, which is about 10-20%. Then it will be about 30%. And what's your cost of goods? Cost of goods is only like 20%. Even if it is 25-20%, it's very hard for you to survive. There's nothing left, barely 10%.
Yeah, and what do you do when unexpected costs come in? Or when the price of, you know, flour goes up 15%. It's there's not much fat in the equation. Correct.
And interestingly, you said flour used to cost me about $29. Now it's already $39.
Well, there you go. That's it then. Yeah, it's really tricky, Michael. So I just guess I want to say, like, thanks for doing it, but thanks isn't going to pay your rent.
Correct. Bank's not going to pay my rent. And even my landlord has already started to talk about increasing the rents because they've been missing out in the past because of COVID.
Wow. I mean, those must be really tricky conversations for you to have. I mean, you mentioned at the start of this chat, you know, this word artisan that you're putting in. And I guess, you know, that's a pretty powerful word that sort of holds a lot in it, doesn't it? You're trying to tell a story of something that's carefully made, handmade, has tradition. I mean, what are some of the other ways that you are trying to change perception among your customers or potential customers?
Well, the other thing I mentioned before is the menus. So I changed the menu so that it's heavily focused more on the noodles and the stuff that I homemade. So yes, I still got the nasi goreng, the fried rice, and then got the fried rice noodle and stuff, but I don't display it in the picture on the menu. So in the picture on the menu is mainly the noodles. And then the other thing was that I focus on the varieties of the noodles that I made, not the topping of the noodles that I created, because the noodle itself is the hero product. It's not the cooking, it's not the meat, it's not the toppings that's the hero product, but it's the noodle itself. Hence why we created the angel hair noodle, we created the little ribbon ones, we created the regular ones, and also the shoestrings ones. And in February here, I'm trying to introduce the red velvet noodles, which is using the beetroot juice and the pulp. And who knows what I might come up next month.
Wow, that's so clever. I love that. I mean, and those different noodles have different texture. I mean, there definitely are. It's not just a gimmick. Like, there is a definite difference when you're eating those different textures of noodles. I mean, so Michael, let's talk numbers. Like, what are you charging for a bowl of noodles, And what do you think you would have to charge for it to really stack up as a business?
At the moment, I already increased the price of the noodles. So now all the noodles that I offered are $18. So $18 will give you a bowl of handmade noodles complete with the toppings and also the side dishes. So the dumplings, the beef bowl, the fish bowls, and a small bowl of soup, a chicken soup. So that will set you back $18 at the moment. But I think for us to properly cost it to survive, I think I need to sell it a little bit more, but I don't think the market's ready for that. Even $18 is already too expensive for that.
So what, like 21, 19.50? Like what if you could just maybe
somewhere around $20 mark.
Yeah. I mean, to me, I think the value, what you speak about, the noodles, handmade, all those sides, the beautiful broth that you spend a lot of time on, I reckon, I mean, I would pay that, but I love paying for food, so I don't know if I'm in a normal sample market. Michael, I think, you've really articulately laid it out for us, the struggle and the solutions that you're trying. I really, I'd really wish you all the best with puzzling it out from day to day and month to month. And I hope that the community supports you in what you're doing. Thank you for being so open with us today. It's not easy, but I really appreciate it.
It's not a problem, Dani. It's I think it's hard conversation, but it's an important topic for all our customers to understand, I guess. And it's not pretty. It's not that interesting, but it's important.
Yeah, thank you. This is Dirty Linen, and I'm Dani Valent. We air the issues that the hospitality industry finds hard to talk about, hearing from different people with unique perspectives. We want to hear from you as well. If you have something that needs to be said about a topic, get in touch so we can include your perspective. Contact us at dirtylinen@deepintheweeds.com.au or hit us up on Insta @dirtylinen podcast. We can't wait to hear from you.